You're a car guy here. Today we're doing brakes on a 2005 Hyundai Elantra. And just to show you how easy it is, we're going to have a couple of little kids do the brake job here on the front brakes. First things first though, let's be very, very clear about safety. When you're doing brakes, you should have the car up on a level surface, preferably concrete, on jack stands. The jack is not something to hold the car up. A jack is a lifting device. It is not a holding device. So in this case, there's a nice cross member right in the front. We jacked up in the middle of it, set the jack stands underneath, and lowered the jack onto the stands for safety. We've also blocked the rear tire in order to keep it from rolling and causing those jack stands to tip over. All right, so here we go. We're going to have an 8-year-old go ahead and take the wheel off. Go ahead, James. He's going to demonstrate just how easy it is. Make sure you get the gun all the way up on there and that you have it set for reverse. All right. All right, put all your lug nuts in one spot where you're going to find them and out of your way. So a lot of times on the base of your creeper, that's a good spot as well. All right, grab that wheel and pull it off. All right, move it out of the way and lay it down. All right, next, we're going to come in here. We're going to take off the 2 caliper bolts. There's one here. There's another one right here underneath. Those 2 bolts will take the caliper loose using a 14mm socket. Go ahead, Calvin. Here we have a 14-year-old that's going to be breaking these loose. You're going the wrong way. My bad.
See, I was right.
Go ahead. Take it off.
Yeah, Dad, Calvin was right.
And now I tightened it. So now it's going to be hard.
All right. All right, get your lower one out too. And they should come out by the fingers. Go ahead. It's all right. You're going to need to hold this so the bolt's not going to rotate. Pull the caliper off. Now, if the caliper is a little tight wanting to come off, I find it's helpful to take a screwdriver, stick it in right here. We're going to compress the piston a little bit. We're just going to pull out, and it's going to loosen it up. Now that caliper ought to slide right out. We'll lay it right up out of our way, and then we can slide the brake pads right out of the holder. Now, something you'll notice, the inside brake pad has this little tang on it. That is a squealer. It's designed to squeal when the brake pad gets worn to a point where that touches the brake rotor. Once that touches the brake rotor, makes a high-pitched squeal, tells you it's time to put brakes on it. All right, we're going to grab our new brake pads. Right behind you, Calvin. We're going to lay them face down on the ground. Okay, make sure it's on a clean spot. We're going to put a little bit of anti-squeal on the back of them. Just put a little drop on. The size of a pea is good. Here, come out in the wrong spot. All right, that's enough. Spread it around with your finger. Get that whole backing plate covered with it. All right, do the other one. All right, now clean your finger with some nice handy mule wipes if you've got them around, or something else. You do not want to get this grease or oil on the surface of the brake rotor here. You want this to stay grease free, or on the facing of the pad. Go ahead and slide the pads back into the caliper there. Remember which one goes to the inside, not that one. That one goes to the outside, Calvin. Outside, outside. Flip it over, flip it over, flip it over, flip it over again. There you go.
Yes. This wheel goes in the back, right?
Yep. Slides right in. Get it up tight to the rotor. All right, we're going to do the other side. Yep, you had it right. Yep, that's it right there. Got it in?
I think so.
All right. Now, we're going to compress the piston here on our caliper so that it goes back in. This is the piston right here. It needs to be fully compressed back into the body of the brake caliper in order to reinstall the brakes. What you're going to do is you're going to take an old brake pad and lay across the front of it. Then a C-clamp works great. So just come across it, part of it behind it, part of it in front, and you're just going to compress away. All right, take the C-clamp off. Get that old pad out of the way. Now, when you're putting this back on, it's important to remember, don't kink your brake line. Make sure it's straight. Also, you want to look at these slides and make sure that they move in and out freely. If they do not, you'll get uneven wear on the brake pad. So if you see us where one side's wearing uneven or at an angle, it's usually that these are stuck. And if they are, you can take them out, clean out whatever grease and dust is in there, put a little bit of grease in there, and get it free, and you'll get good even braking. All right, let's put that caliper back on. All right, get our bolts in it. Now, it's important to put the bolts in by hand before you put a ratchet on them. Make sure that they thread in quite a ways, nice and easy. This makes sure that you don't cross thread the bolt and cause any damage. You cross thread a bolt, you're gonna have a miserable time, because then you're gonna have to take it apart. You're either gonna have to drill and tap, or you're gonna have to get new pieces. It gets more expensive. All right, get your bottom one.
It's not aligned.
Not all the way in yet?
It's not.
There you go. Shut it down here. All right. Now you can put your ratchet on it. Ratchet away. Now, these do not have to be exceedingly tight. The torque spec on those is going to be probably around 26 foot-pounds to 32 foot-pounds. But just good and snug with your hand, and they should be good to go. Next, we're just going to put the wheel on. Let's move some of the junk out of the way. Now our muscle little 8-year-old here going to get the wheel lined up. Good job, James. All right. Are you lined up? You're not quite lined up. All right. Pull it back off a little bit. Turn it. All right. Now get your lug nuts. Start them by hand, just like the others, because we don't want to cross thread them. Go the other direction. There you go. Get another one on. Go ahead, James. Just push a little bit in on the bottom of the tire. You got to get the right side out. Now, if you look at this, folks, we are less than 15 minutes in. Whole job done by an 8-year-old and a 14-year-old. We'll be in under 15 minutes doing this one side. So you can see that even an amateur in 30 minutes should be able to do the front brakes on a 2005 Hyundai Elantra. All right. Now we are just going to snug the wheels with the gun. First click, nice and slow, because we're going to come back later and use a torque wrench to torque them tight. You do not want to just hammer them with the gun. If you do, you'll over torque, which can stretch the lug studs, possibly break them. And you don't want to do that. You don't want your wheel to be loose. You want to know that it's set at factory specs. So we're just going to snug them up. Then you'll go look in your owner's manual. It'll have the factory specs. If not, look them up online and use a torque wrench. If you don't have a torque wrench, torque them by hand with a long ratchet or a 4-way or the lug wrench that comes with the car. Just use something. But again, they do not have to be exceedingly tight. Normally something like this is going to be about 85 to 86 foot-pounds. This is your car guy showing you just how easy it is to do front brakes on a 2005 Hyundai Elantra. Remember, be safe first. Do not do this on an uneven surface or try to set it up on a little jack or do it without jack stands. It's just dangerous. Don't do it.